Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this video, the full version is available on Patreon. I'll be uploading all my content there going forward.
Chapter 1. Autumn is cool, blowing faint ripples. In a corner of New York, in a dilapidated yard with a simple sign of Mary Orphanage hanging on the door, the withered yellow leaves were blown up by the wind and slowly fell in front of the window, which seemed to have a beautiful feeling of good times. At this time, a slightly pale, very handsome boy slowly came to the window, looking at this strange city outside the window with a complicated expression. The little boy is about 5 or 6 years old, file size, has short smooth black hair, and an oriental face, but there is something special. The little boy has a pair of distinctive eyes, because these eyes are two-color pupils, also known as different pupils. The left pupil is soul gold, and the right pupil is amethyst. Born with different pupils, gold on the left and purple on the right. This is a different pupil from ordinary people. The two special pupils are extremely clear, with a little starlight, just like the stars. They look very gorgeous and deep, and people's eyes can't help falling on these eyes. The world has changed, and so have I. The little boy said with a complicated expression, and there was maturity in his words that did not match his age. Just like the plot of Dog Blood, the little boy is named Xiaozhou. He is not from this world. A few days ago, he was a student of a flower gardening family, but when awakening came, he became an outcast in an orphanage, and his age it also changed back to the 5 or 6-year-old file size. This is a very scary thing. After all, no one can remain indifferent after knowing that he will become another identity as soon as awakening comes. Xiaozhou has also been confused and scared, but after these few days, he also slowly accepted this fact. Coming to an unfamiliar environment, the first thing to do is to understand the world. Xiaozhou understands this, so he has been learning about the world these days, and after some understanding, he has some understanding of the world. First of all, this is the Earth, and there are still some countries such as Daxia and the United States, but the place where he is located is the United States, and it is the United States in the 1990s. This world is very similar to the original but somewhat different. At the beginning, he thought that this world was just a parallel time and space of the Earth, and he also came to the United States in the late 1990s. Needless to say, he has done a good job to prepare for copywriting. In the United States, a manga called Marvel is selling well, and he happens to know that there is no manga called Marvel in this world. Xiaozhou has fantasized about getting Marvel's comics out, making them into movies, making games, and then becoming famous. Until he heard that during World War II, there was a superhero named Steve Rogers, known as the Captain of the United States. MMP. There is no Marvel comics here, but because this is the world of Marvel at all. Originally thought to be a world with backward entertainment culture, I wanted to make a lot of money from Marvel's comics and enjoy the decadent life of a drunkard, but as a result, I entered the world of Marvel directly. This sense of contrast. Xiaozhou was powerless to complain, but then came a heavy sense of crisis. This world is very chaotic, there are all kinds of monsters and monsters, technology, magic, gods, demons, aliens. It is so chaotic that it can no longer be chaotic. From time to time, there will be demons that can destroy the world, and even if you are resting at home, you may fall. A cannonball is too dangerous to be dangerous, so he must have some self-defense. You brought me here, then I believe you won't let me have any self-protection power, right? Xiaozhou murmured. The room was empty, but Xiaozhou seemed to be talking to someone. Xiaozhou slowly lifted the tip of the hair on his forehead. At this time, an ancient totem slowly appeared in the middle of Shiji's forehead, and a sense of vicissitudes full of time slowly dissipated, filling the entire room. This totem is composed of 12 circular lines, such as reincarnation, which is a bit like he saw a kind of eyes called Samsara eyes in an anime called Hokage in his previous life, but it is a little different. The reincarnation eye is purple as a whole, with 3 overlapping pupil rings, and this different pupil totem has 12 pupil rings. The 12 pupil rings are overlapped, and the patterns on the 12 pupil rings are strange. It looks very mysterious. On the other hand, the reason why he came to this world is because of this eye pupil totem. In a previous life, he saw a round stone with 12 rings on a street stall, like eyes. Out of curiosity, he bought the stone, and as soon as awakening came, he had already come to this world, and this one was like this. The round stone pattern like eyes appeared on his forehead and turned into a totem like eyes, so his arrival was inseparable from it. Xiaozhou has a guess in his heart, that is, his abnormal pupil is probably caused by this eye pupil totem, born with different pupils. This is not a normal thing, only a very few people may have such a situation. In his previous life, he was from a family of flowers. In this life, he is also of Huxia descent. Naturally, he also has black hair and black eyes. However, now his left eye has turned into a noble gold color, and his right eye has turned into a deep amethyst color, so he will inevitably think of eye pupils. Totem. This may be related to the eye pupil totem. It is definitely not certain. Maybe it is a certain mutation, such as the X gene. If it is the X gene, it is not bad. Maybe it can bring me some special ability. Xiaozhou murmured. He felt that his eyes were related to the pupil totem, but it was not an absolute thing. After all, the Marvel world has mutants, which may also be some kind of X gene. Xiaozhou is not one of those ignorant people. He has no rejection of the X gene, because in this dangerous world, power is extremely important. As long as he can bring the ability to protect himself, he thinks it is a good thing. Totem, Xiaotu, Tutu, don't pretend to be dead, but tell me something. What's the matter with my changes? Xiaozhou murmured and called roar to the eye pupil totem on his forehead. Although he guessed that the changes on his body were related to the eye pupil totem, no matter how he called, the eye pupil totem did not respond at all. But Xiaozhou understand that this is definitely not a simple symbol, but a mysterious existence, so he must get in touch with it and get power in its hands. Tread. 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 And just when Xiaozhou was actively contacting the totem on his forehead, a footstep approached slowly, heading towards the direction of the yard. Asterisk. Chapter 2. Tread. 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 Hearing the hurried footsteps approaching, Xiaozhou looked calm. At the same time, the eye pupil totem slowly disappeared under the skin, and Xiaozhou's forehead became smooth and flawless, without the slightest abnormality. This is the only gain he has received in the past few days. He can feel the changes in the eye pupil totem, and he can also control it to appear or hide on his skin. Oh, little Asta, so you're here. Didn't I tell you to rest well? You just fell ill 2 days ago, but you're not in a hurry to rest now. Come with me. Mrs. Steve is about to adopt a child. You also hurry over, maybe she will like you. A middle-aged white woman in her 40s who looked a little fat appeared in front of Xiaozhou, and an old mother said to Xiaozhou as if she cared about her child. This was Ms. Mary, the director of the Mary Orphanage. Ordinary, but very kind and kind. This is a kind and gentle, mother-like woman who is not afraid of Xiaozhou's different pupils, but also shares her love for her child with Xiaozhou, but she doesn't know that Xiaozhou has no inferiority complex, and is even eager to this pair of special pupils can bring him some special abilities. As for Ashta in the mouth of Dean Mary, this is the name she gave to Xiaozhou, which means bright star. She is referring to Xiaozhou's eyes shining like stars, which is to encourage Xiaozhou not to be because of herself eyes are special and inferior. Okay, Dean Mary, and please call me by my Huxia name, Xiaozhou. Xiaozhou said to Ms. Mary. Although he has been here for some time, he still prefers the original name. Well, my lovely little Mr. Xiaozhou, go to the hall quickly, don't make Mrs. Steve wait too long. Dean Mary chuckled, and then walked quickly to the hall with Xiaozhou. When Xiaozhou arrived, he immediately saw a beautiful woman standing in the center of the hall with a smile on her face, communicating with the children, and was stunned. The woman was wearing a plain white long gown and a pair of round-rimmed glasses, looking a little low-key, but Mrs. Steve's face was delicate, and there was a hint of charm in her smile. A familiar figure flashed in Xiaozou's heart. This is Black Widow. Xiaozou was shocked, because he immediately recognized that the so-called Mrs. Steve standing in front of him was Natasha Romanoff in Avengers, that is, the famous Black Widow. As for how Xiaozou can recognize it, just looking at the face that is very similar to Scarlet, and the charm that flashes inadvertently, Xiaozou can be sure that this is Black Widow Natasha Romanoff. As for why Natasha Romanoff appeared here, and also has the name of the so-called Mrs. Steve, Xiaozou guessed that Natasha Romanoff was probably performing some tasks, so he appeared here with a pseudonym. And the fact is also true. According to S.H.I.E.L.D.'s intelligence, there will be a robbery at the bank next to the orphanage after a while, and the robbers are likely to use the orphanage next to the bank as a last resort, taking the children of the orphanage as hostages. That's why Black Widow will come here to sit back and wait. Come on, what a beautiful child, let me hug. Natasha Romanoff saw Xiaozou's eyes light up, smiled and said to Xiaozou, reaching out to hug Xiaozou. That's not good. Xiaozou's cheeks are slightly red, but her body is honestly approaching Natasha Romanoff's body. This is the legendary Black Widow. She is charming and smiling, and it happens to have the identity of a child that makes people not watch out. Xiaozou, how could it be refused? What a shy child! Natasha Romanoff chuckled, thinking that Xiaozou was shy, and picked Xiaozou directly. Being held in Natasha Romanoff's arms, Xiaozou felt at once. Natasha Romanoff's big, soft, and even a touch of fragrance is fascinating. Xiaozou was only a little virgin in his previous life. He had seen such battles there, with reddened cheeks and a thumping heart, but at this moment, Xiaozou was slightly stunned because he felt the pupil totem under the skin twitched. This is... Xiaozou's brows twitched, and a ray of joy flashed in her bright eyes like stars. What's the matter, the child with beautiful eyes? Natasha Romanoff asked Xiaozou in surprise. She felt that Xiaozou had a strange change, but she didn't know what happened. It's nothing, dear Mrs. Steve. A faint smile hung on the corner of Xiaozou's mouth, and she didn't say anything, but her little head silently approached Natasha Romanoff's softness. Xiaozou didn't change on the surface, but he had already laughed in his heart, because by chance, he had already understood what the eye pupil totem on his forehead was. The ultimate eye. In other words, it is more appropriate to use the immature ultimate eye. This is the message that was fed back to him by the eye pupil totem just now, and the trigger condition is the moment he was held in his arms by Natasha Romanoff. More specifically, the rapid emotion he had because of being held up by Natasha Romanoff variety. That's right, this is the activation condition of the ultimate eye, Xiaozou's original mood change, and it's a special kind of mood change. But these are not important, what is important is the ability that this so-called ultimate eye can bring to him. According to the news fed back to him by the eye pupil totem just now, the ultimate pupil can bring him some special pupil techniques. The ultimate pupil has 12 pupil rings, each pupil ring represents a kind of pupil technique, and all he has to do is to meet the conditions for opening the pupil ring. As long as he can do it, he can open those special ones. Pupil surgery. Think about the pupil techniques he knows, such as the eye of the wheel, the eye of reincarnation, the eye of death, the eye of the ancients, each of which has a strange ability, and even some exist that are close to the rule, and according to the feedback of the ultimate pupil to his message, as long as he can meet the conditions, he can open it. Thinking of this, Xiaozou's eyes flashed with fire. Because of these special abilities, he is equivalent to having the capital to survive in this dangerous Marvel world. How could he be unhappy? On the other hand, his purple gold eye is to adapt to the changes that will appear in various eye techniques in the future. Xiaozou also just knew this, but he doesn't care, because power is everything, and with power, everything is easy to say. The opening of each pupil technique is an evolution, and when all pupil techniques are turned on, the eye pupil totem can complete the evolution and achieve the real ultimate pupil. Asterisk. Chapter 3. 12 pupil rings correspond to 12 pupil techniques. This is my capital to survive in this world, but the most urgent task is to open the first pupil ring and obtain the first ability, so that I have a little self-protection power. Xiaozhou murmured in his heart, although he is very curious about the major pupil techniques that can be opened in the future, but now these are too far for Xiaozhou. What he needs to do now is to make the outermost pupil ring, also it is the opening of the first pupil ring, allowing oneself to have a certain self-protection power. Just like what he said before, this world is too dangerous. Ordinary people are like ants, and they will be hurt at every turn. Let's not talk about the dangers of large and small file sizes. As far as the future villain Thanos is concerned, with the snap of his fingers, the number of people in the world will be directly reduced by half. He is not willing to bet on the 1/2 probability, and the death is unclear. So he had to turn on these pupil techniques to gain the power to protect himself, and the condition for the first pupil technique to be activated was enough emotional changes. Thinking of this, Xiaozhou couldn't help rubbing harder on Natasha Romanoff's softness, feeling thumping heart. This is the famous Black Widow, full of charm, even after deliberate disguise, but Xiaozhou alone can feel her charm. I'm here to gain power, not to take advantage. Xiaozhou murmured in her heart, showing a shy smile, and her small head drilled into Natasha Romanoff's arms even more. That's right, everything is to open the first pupil ring. Child, come down first, I'll talk to Dean Mary. Natasha Romanoff frowned slightly, her cheeks showing a hint of red, and quickly said to Xiaozhou. As an agent, her senses are very sensitive. She feels the unease of the little guy in her arms. Although she thinks that a child will not have any evil thoughts, it is not very good after all. Besides, she is here mainly for the purpose of task. No, Mrs. Steve, from the moment I saw you, I thought you looked a lot like Dean Mary. You must be a great mother. I wish I could be closer to you. Xiaozhou's twisted body drilled hard into Natasha Romanoff's arms, and her small arms hugged Natasha Romanoff's body tightly, unwilling to come down. Just kidding, in the message just now, he knew that the opening of the first pupil ring requires a lot of emotional changes, just that one point is not enough, so he hopes to stay in Natasha Romanoff's arms for a while, so that he can collect more mood changes. In this way, the first pupil ring can be opened faster, so he did everything possible to rely on Natasha Romanoff's arms, smelling the good smell of Natasha Romanoff. Ma'am, I love you. Xiaozhou's small head was buried in Black Widow's arms, and a word came out slowly. Natasha Romanoff. Black Widow was full of black lines. She was speechless for Xiaozhou. She only played the role of a lady because of her mission, but she was entangled by Xiaozhou, a little kid, and she said this in a mature way, teasing words. Natasha Romanoff gritted her silver teeth secretly, wishing she could beat Xiaozhou's A. Xiaozhou ignored what Natasha Romanoff was thinking, because he was busy fighting for more emotional changes and trying to open the first pupil ring sooner, so no matter what reason Natasha Romanoff used, Xiaozhou was relying on Natasha in Romanoff's arms. He didn't even die, which made Dean Mary look speechless. Worried about leaving a bad impression on Natasha Romanoff, he quickly took the initiative to hold Xiaozhou down. After a while, Dean Mary pulled Xiaozhou off the sticky candy stuck in Natasha Romanoff's arms, and at this moment, there was a popping sound from the other direction of the bank, followed by a burst of the intense gunshots drew everyone's attention. Damn it, it's the other direction. Natasha Romanoff's face changed slightly. She didn't expect the robbers to rush to another road instead of the orphanage. This was different from what she expected. Natasha Romanoff ignored the disguise and rushed over. What happened? How did Mrs. Steve leave? Was it frightened by Ashta? Dean Mary was at a loss, not understanding why Natasha Romanoff ran away. Was it frightened by Xiaozhou's enthusiasm ran? Dean Mary thought that Natasha Romanoff was scared away by Xiaozhou, but she didn't know the reason. As for Xiaozhou at the moment seemed to be frightened. The moment Xiaozhou's mind was completely immersed in his mind. Because the moment he left Natasha Romanoff's arms just now, the emotional change of opening the first pupil ring was finally enough, and Xiaozhou could get the first ability. For such a thing, Xiaozhou was very excited, because this was exactly what he wanted, and at this time, the ultimate pupil fed Xiaozhou a message. Do you want to open the first pupil ring? Yes. Without any hesitation, Xiaozhou said in his heart, he had been waiting for this message for a long time. The first pupil ring was officially opened, and at the same time, a force was generated in the pupil totem above the forehead. As the eye meridian slowly flowed to the position of the eyes, this strange energy instantly pierced Xiaozhou's eyeballs. Completely wrapped. Xiaozhou lowered her head slightly and looked towards the ground, her hair hanging down to hide the changes in her eyes. No one noticed that there was a faint fluorescent light in the purple-gold eyes that were hidden by the hair tips of Xiaozhou. At this moment, the left and amethyst-colored right eyes were filled with reddish light, and in the center of the eyes, an inverted V-shaped logo appears, like an eagle spreading its wings. Eye of Geass. The first pupil ring, Eye of Geass, officially launched. These are Lu Luxiu's eyes, and they have both eyes. That is to say, the ability of my first pupil ring is an absolute command. Xiaozhou was pleasantly surprised, and instantly understood what the pupil technique of his first pupil ring was. Lelich's Eye of Geass. Ability, absolute command. Because of Lu Luxiu's own reasons, this kind of power is the power of the king, an absolute order that no one can violate, and can even distort the ethics, ideas, and beliefs of the ordered object. That is to say, even if Xiaozhou orders the person in front of him to commit suicide, the person being executed will shoot himself in the head without hesitation, without the slightest hesitation. This is an extremely terrifying power, and even has the ability to control life and death, but such power also has a lot of limitations. First of all, the person being executed can only execute one command at the same time, and this is the Eye of Geass of the line of sight signal, which must be used when using it. Look into each other's eyes, and its influence will be weakened when the person is in a dying state. But these are not too much trouble for Xiaozhou, because in this chaotic Marvel world, power is everything, so Xiaozhou is very happy, he finally has a little power to protect himself. Asterisk. Chapter 4. Just when Xiaozhou was familiar with the ability of the Eye of Geass, Black Widow had already rushed to the bank where the accident happened next door. I'm late, how is the situation? Outside the bank, a beautiful figure came quickly. This was Natasha Romanoff, who came from the orphanage. At the moment, Natasha Romanoff's clothes have changed back to the original and capable appearance. He is wearing a black tight leather jacket, which looks very good. Skilled and valiant. Natasha Romanoff, what were you doing just now, why are you so late? A man with a bow and arrow in his hand gave Natasha Romanoff a puzzled look, wondering why Black Widow came late. This is not her style. Meet a bear child, so I'm late. Natasha Romanoff gritted his teeth, obviously thinking of something bad. Okay, let's settle this side of things first. Now there are 10 robbers inside. According to our information, these people should be Hydra's peripheral personnel. The sturdy man gave Natasha Romanoff a puzzled look. He didn't quite understand what she was talking about, but he didn't say much. Instead, he turned the topic to the bank robbery and introduced the current situation to Black Widow. Hydra. An extremely troublesome organization and the natural enemy of their organization, which is why they are dispatched. If it is a general robbery case, they don't need to be dispatched at all. After all, the things they deal with are special things, not a small one. Robbery. No profit can't be too early, what can this bank have to make Hydra tempted? Natasha Romanoff frowned slightly and muttered to herself that based on what she knew about Hydra, they couldn't have done such a thing without enough interest. It's not clear yet, said the man with a bow and arrow in his hand. Forget it, we'll know when the robbers are taken down. Natasha Romanoff murmured, preparing to set off to rush into the bank, and at this moment, another explosion sounded. No, sir, the robber blasted a hole in the other wall and rushed into the orphanage next door. Damn, sure enough, they still intend to use the orphanage's children as a shield. Natasha Romanoff's face changed greatly, cursed, and instantly rushed in the direction of the orphanage. In the past, in order to prevent the robbers from threatening them with the children of the orphanage, she pretended to be in the orphanage, but she did not expect that this group of robbers would secretly hide in Chenkeng and flee in the other direction on the bright side. Still choose the orphanage this way, which makes Natasha Romanoff a little angry. On the other hand, the hall of the orphanage was a little quiet at the moment. Because of the sudden explosion, Dean Mary was a little worried and let all the children hide in the basement of the orphanage, but Xiaozhou still wanted to see what happened, so when Dean Mary was not paying attention, he slipped out quietly. The situation on that side is really intense, and the gunfire is constant. Xiaozhou was listening in the yard near the bank, and was a little excited. Although he was a little scared, after all, he had never really seen a gunfight, but with the existence of the famous Black Widow, he believed that there would be no problem. After all, that but one of the Avengers is not something that little thieves can provoke. Xiaozhou still has some confidence in this, so he feels at ease to be a melon eater here. Bang! At this moment, a loud noise appeared, and a hole was blown open in the wall near the bank. Xiaozhou's face changed greatly, and he instantly hid in the room, looking in the direction of the hole through the gap. Looks like something unexpected happened. 10 robbers with masks on their faces walked out of the broken hole in an instant, and a strong man at the head held a very old-looking sheepskin scroll in his hand. Ha ha ha, I thought how strong the elites of the Homeland Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Bureau are, but it seems that they are just a bunch of idiots, and they were played around by us. The sturdy man at the head laughed arrogantly. This time, he came up with the method to hide Chen Kang, and he felt very happy that he could play the people of Shield. Bah, the name is really long. The leading man complained, but that's true. The predecessor of S.H.I.E.L.D. was the Homeland Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Bureau. This long name made many people complain. How can those idiots be the boss's opponent? That's right. The rest of the robbers were flattering the boss, taunting Natasha Romanoff and them together. Okay, the time is urgent. Next, according to the previous plan, take the little kids in this orphanage as hostages, then leave here, go back to life, and send the treasure back. This time is the most important thing. The robber boss said calmly, and gave orders to his subordinates. Through the gap in the room, a faint light fell on Xiaozhou's tender face, but Xiaozhou's face was very serious, because he did not expect such a change. Taking orphanages as hostages? This is something that Xiaozhou does not allow. To be honest, Xiaozhou has not been here for a long time. He does not have much affection for the orphanage, but he has always remembered the kindness of Dean Mary to him. No matter how weak the emotion is, it cannot be ignored, and the orphanage is the hard work of Dean Mary. He will not allow these robbers to destroy it. Looks like I have to do it, this time I have to see blood. Xiaozhou murmured, but there was a hint of coldness on his tender face, which showed that he had already moved to kill. After thinking about it, Xiaozhou thought about it and walked out of the yard slowly. Who, get me out. As soon as Xiaozhou moved, the robber leader instantly heard the slight footsteps, and instantly aimed the pistol in his hand in the direction of the room. A childish voice sounded, and at the same time, Xiaozhou walked out slowly, quietly looking at the 10 people in front of him. It turned out to be a little kid. I thought the people from S.H.I.E.L.D. were chasing after him, and they happened to be taken as hostages. Seeing that it was an immature child, the 10 robbers breathed a sigh of relief. Sometimes small children are dangerous too. Xiaozhou chuckled lightly and looked at the 10 people in front of her. The glass-like purple gold eyes turned bright red at this moment, and an inverted V logo like an eagle's wings appeared instantly. Sir, it's not a good thing to come uninvited. I hope this gentleman like a captain can answer my question. Xiaozhou looked at the strong man in the middle, and a flash of light flashed in his fluorescent pale red eyes. Okay, sir, please ask. At this moment, the robber leader stopped for a moment, looked at Xiaozhou dumbfounded, and slowly said a sentence that stunned the rest of the people, but no one saw it, and a red halo appeared on the robber leader's pupil. Geass ability, absolute command. Launch. Asterisk. Chapter 5. A red halo appeared on the pupil, which was the sign of being hit by geass. At this time, they had already surrendered to geass and could only execute the orders given by Xiaozhou without any resistance. And when the leader of the robbers said this sentence, all the other robbers stared at their boss in astonishment. Is this their boss? It's shocking to say such words so obediently. Xiaozhou guessed a little about the robber's thoughts, but he ignored it and continued to ask his questions. What did you rob at the bank? Xiaozhou asked. He just heard that the robbers robbed a special thing. Although he planned to solve these robbers, it seemed that there were some clues in it, and he didn't mind learning about it. A parchment. The robber leader replied dumbly, this is the order given to him by Xiaozhou, to answer all the questions he asked, so he couldn't resist, he could only answer Xiaozhou's question obediently, until after Xiaozhou's question was over, he will wake up. Parchment? Interesting, what does this thing do? Xiaozhou asked, asking his question. It is said that it is related to a certain treasure. As for what it is, our chief did not tell us. The leading man answered honestly. You still have officers? It seems that your origins are not simple. Tell me about your origins. Xiaozhou was surprised that the meaning of this officer was not simple, which proved that this time the bank robbery was not a simple robbery, but more like a crime of a certain organization. We are outsiders of Hydra. A day ago, our boss Wickley asked us to come and snatch this parchment. As for the specific role, I don't know. The leading robbers robbed them this time. The cause and effect are all said. That's interesting. Xiaozhou looked at the robbers thoughtfully. He didn't expect that this group of robbers were actually from Hydra, but this could explain why Black Widow appeared here. As for the Wickley officer in his mouth, Xiaozhou, I don't have any memory, I guess it's just a lower-level member of Hydra, and Xiaozhou doesn't care much. Captain, what are you talking about? Why did you tell us all about us? Are you planning to defect to the organization? At this time, the rest of the robber members came back to their senses and looked at their captain angrily. What happened to me just now? What happened? At this time, the leader of the robbers came back to his senses, because what Xiaozhou wanted to know had already been understood, and his inquiry was over, and the leader of the robbers came back to his senses, but he did not remember at all. What happened just now, and after the explanation of his subordinates, he understood what happened. What did you do to me? The captain of the robber looked at Xiaozhou in horror, and he felt that Xiaozhou was more and more strange. After all, it made him say everything without knowing it. This kind of thing is so terrible, it's like a devil. Shoot and kill him for me. The captain of the robber said in horror that he felt more and more strange about Xiaozhou, but they didn't have much time to stay now. The people from S.H.I.E.L.D. were about to arrive, and they had to evacuate quickly. Bang! A shot rang, but it was not Xiaozhou who was shot, but the captain of the robber. Why? The robber captain clutched his bleeding heart, looked at his partner with a puzzled face, and then slowly fell down. When he died, he couldn't understand why they were brothers who were born to death, why they shot him without hesitation. It's just that he didn't realize that, at the moment, there was an inconspicuous red halo outside the pupil of his good brother who was born and died. Geass ability, absolute command to activate. Just kidding, this group of robbers are all armed with firearms. Although he now has the ability of geass, his body is still very weak and can't stand the attack of hot weapons, so Xiaozhou has long kept one mind, given order to the members standing beside the robber captain. After the captain answers the question, kill him, then commit suicide, and the mission is officially completed. The man who was hit by the ability of geass said, he raised the pistol in his hand blankly, pointed it to his head, and continued to perform the task that Xiaozhou gave him just now. Bang! Another shot rang out, blood spattered, the man fell slowly, and 2 of the 10 robbers suddenly lost. Xiaozhou looked at the 10 people with a cold face, and there was no fluctuation in his heart. This group of people planned to take the orphanage as a hostage, and they might be silenced in the end. This is cruel to the orphanage, so Xiaozhou is not interested in killing them. No conflict in the slightest. You are the devil, kill him. Kill him. The rest of the members witnessed the whole process and were horrified one by one. A single sentence can make people commit suicide. This kind of ability is no less than the ability of the devil, which makes them all terrified. One by one, they just want to kill Xiaozhou, and then quickly escape from here. Unfortunately, Xiaozhou is already prepared, how could they succeed? The fluorescent eyes lifted up again and looked at everyone. The inverted V-shaped sign flashed instantly, and the other 8 robbers were instantly stunned, with a red halo in each of their eyes. Geass ability, absolute command. Launch. Give me the parchment, and leave a gun, then take the bodies of those 2 people away, and finally jump into the river to commit suicide. Xiaozhou said slowly, and said his last order indifferently. According to what the robber captain said just now, this mysterious sheepskin scroll has a mystery. How could Xiaozhou let go of the fat sheep delivered to the door? As for leaving a gun, this world is too dangerous, not to mention those dangerous people who destroy the world, even the gangsters and other small villains, and although he opened the first pupil ring, but this inability is a spiritual ability, and his body is still weak, so it is still possible to leave a gun for self-defense. After Xiaozhou gave an order, the robbers left the parchment and a pistol behind, picked up the 2 dead companions on their backs, and quickly ran to the nearby river. Hide this thing first. Xiaozhou picked up these 2 things and hid them in an inconspicuous place in the yard, and just after Xiaozhou finished all this, a rushing sound of running quickly approached, and a beautiful figure broke in. Black Widow Natasha Romanoff is here. Asterisk. Chapter 6. Natasha Romanoff is very anxious. Although she is an agent, she has seen many wars, and she has become indifferent to death, but the orphanage is just a group of newborns, all of them have not grown up, so she does not want the children of the orphanage be a bargaining chip in this game. Thinking of this, Natasha Romanoff couldn't help thinking of a child with beautiful eyes. Although the child looked a bit cheap, she couldn't bear to die like this, so Natasha Romanoff stepped up and passed the one that the robbers just blasted. The cave rushed directly into the courtyard of the orphanage. But when Natasha Romanoff rushed into the orphanage's yard, she found that the situation was not what she had expected. In her expectation, the picture of all the children being kidnapped and held hostage did not appear. Some of them were just a child with a pair of fascinated and bicolored eyes standing in the yard. This is Xia who just hid the pistol and the parchment scroll. So. Xiaozhou saw Natasha Romanoff's arrival, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Natasha Romanoff is an excellent agent who has been fighting for a long time, so his body is well proportioned and beautiful. Wearing special tights for agents, she looks valiant and attractive. Madam, are you looking for me specifically? I knew you couldn't bear me, I'm so happy. Xiaozhou suddenly forgot about other things, looked at Natasha Romanoff with joy and said, he has not forgotten the excitement and thumping feeling when he was hugged by Natasha Romanoff, entangling Natasha Romanoff, just now. This kind of strange excitement, not to mention the opening of the first pupil ring, Xiaozhou wants to try again, maybe there are other gains. Strength, as long as it can bring him strength, he will do dangerous things, not to mention that it is not dangerous at all, and it is a great benefit. Natasha Romanoff's face darkened. Why did he see this arrogant child? Natasha Romanoff had the urge to knock Xiaozhou down with one punch, because seeing Xiaozhou reminded her of some bad things, and what was the tone of her speech? A thing? Does she miss him? Did you come here specifically to find him? Natasha Romanoff suddenly had the urge to grab the little brat in front of him and punch him in the A. This joke is not funny at all, kid. Have you seen some dangerous guys? Those guys are very dangerous and may hurt the orphanage. Natasha Romanoff suppressed the thought of beating Xiaozhou and bent down slightly, said patiently to Xiaozhou. The most important thing now is to catch those dangerous guys, and the rest are little things, so Natasha Romanoff doesn't have much time to talk to Xiaozhou. Xiaozhou's eyes turned slightly, and he naturally understood why Natasha Romanoff came here, because 2 robbers had been killed by his geass ability just now, and the other 8 people left with their bodies. 8 people with 2 corpses, the speed will be dragged behind. If Natasha Romanoff catches up now, he will definitely find this clue. Xiaozhou does not want this situation. He is still very weak now. He only has the eye of geass, and his body is still weak. He doesn't want him to be exposed to Shield's eyelids. He doesn't want Natasha Romanoff to find out the abnormality of the group of robbers, so he got a hold Natasha Romanoff. So madam didn't come looking for me? I'm so disappointed. Xiaozhou said with a drooping face and a look of disappointment. Natasha Romanoff's face suddenly turned black again. This kid, as expected, still has to punch his A. Damn, tell me quickly, auntie has very important things to do. After I'm done, I'll definitely come to see you again, okay? Natasha Romanoff looked at Xiaozhou tenderly and said, if it wasn't for speaking, she would still bite. Silver teeth, maybe more convincing. She just wants to solve that thing now, and pushes the rest back, and now there is only Xiaozhou here, so she thinks Xiaozhou should know something, so she wants to know the whereabouts of those people from Xiaozhou. There is a saying that children are the best to be deceived, so she feels that she can easily get what he knows from Xiaozhou's mouth. As for promises to come to see him in the future, she herself does not believe it. Really? Do you like me? Xiaozhou said happily, looking at Natasha Romanoff expectantly. Natasha Romanoff's face turned black again, and he almost rolled his eyes. There's no end to this little brat, why bring the topic back to whether he likes it or not? Natasha Romanoff already has a tendency to run wild. Yes, yes, I like you the most, so you can tell me. Natasha Romanoff said anxiously. She was in a hurry to deal with that matter, but the brain circuit of this little brat in front of her was a little strange, always going to places she couldn't think of. Me too, I like madam the most. Xiaozhou said happily, closing her eyes slightly and leaning slightly. This is an obvious action, that is to ask for a kiss. Generally, people who are waiting for a kiss will lean forward slightly, but this action is also very common in the United States, because in the eyes of the United States, this is a greeting etiquette. Natasha Romanoff clenched her fists and understood what the little kid Xiaozhou was waiting for, but she always felt a sense of being taken advantage of, but this was another little kid, and she needed to chase down the robbers. Die to die, kiss to kiss. Natasha Romanoff's heart was crossed, her eyes were closed, her red lips were slightly on Xiaozhou's cheek, and a silent smile appeared on Xiaozhou's face. Now you can talk. Natasha Romanoff stared at Xiaozhou and said, her palms clenched tightly. She felt that if Xiaozhou didn't say anything, she would really go crazy. Yes, a few uncles ran out of that hole just now, but they seemed to be in a panic and ran directly over there. Xiaozhou pointed to the direction where the robbers were leaving, and seemed to explain the situation to Natasha Romanoff very seriously, but there was an unknown smile in the depths of his eyes. He could see that Natasha Romanoff was about to reach the limit of his patience, so he stopped teasing Natasha Romanoff and pointed the way for Natasha Romanoff, but now that Natasha Romanoff has been dragged by him for so long, the group of robbers should be about to reach the river. Okay, you go inside, it's dangerous outside. Natasha Romanoff said quickly, and then quickly ran in the direction that Xiaozhou pointed. There was an urge to try, she would take all the anger she had just received in Xiaozhou. Sprinkle on the group of robbers. Madam, remember, I like you. Xiaozhou suddenly shouted a word from behind. Natasha Romanoff's face turned black, and he almost fell with a bump. Natasha Romanoff rolled his eyes and left quickly without looking back, but the figure looked a little embarrassed. Chapter 7. Little Asta, my god, are you all right? It's so dangerous outside, how can you run out alone? Xiaozhou watched Natasha Romanoff leave, and at this time, a worried voice came from the house. The anxious figure of Principal Mary quickly came to the yard, hugged Xiaozhou at once, and the words were tense, blaming Xiaozhou for a people run out. It's so dangerous outside, what if you get hurt? President Mary, I'm fine, and just now Mrs. Steve said she likes me. Xiaozhou said with a smile, although there was reproach in Principal Mary's words, but he heard Principal Mary's concern and couldn't help but feel good. The next thing is simple, the police began to come to clear the scene. After all, the robbery is under their jurisdiction, and the ending is also their regular job, but this time the home of the robbery is a bank, and the orphanage is implicated, so the orphanage is not taken seriously, and the investigation is also focused on the bank. However, Xiaozhou was the only person who saw the robbers leave, so the police inevitably came to ask a few questions, but it was impossible for them to suspect Xiaozhou, because the current Xiaozhou is a child, and after a routine questioning, leave. The orphanage slowly returned to peace. On the other hand, in a building that seemed to be heavily guarded, Natasha Romanoff in tight clothes was sitting on a chair, helplessly looking at a shiny braised egg opposite. No, a one-eyed man with no hair. This is the future SHIELD Nick Fury, now the director of the Homeland Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Service. So, this is the result? You chased the river, and that group of robbers just jumped into the river and committed suicide. Nick Fury looked at Natasha Romanoff with a puzzled face. He didn't understand what this operation was. Since that group of Hydra people went to rob a bank and took one thing, then they need to go back, but they jumped straight into the river. This kind of coquettish operation, he can't understand. Is there someone underwater to meet them? Or something is too important, they have completed the handover, and then choose to silence. Forget it, Natasha Romanoff, follow up on this matter. Unable to understand what happened, Nick Fury chose to continue to let Natasha Romanoff investigate. As for the result, he is not very clear. I know, I'll follow up. Natasha Romanoff said helplessly, she still feels that this matter is full of strangeness, and she wants to investigate it clearly. By the way, according to the police record, there is a child in the orphanage who seems to be talking about you all the time. Nick Fury suddenly said that he was very concerned about this robbery, and the police record was also concerned, so he noticed that there was a child in an orphanage on the record that kept talking about Mrs. Steve. This was not Natasha Romanoff's previous mission a pseudonym at the time? Natasha Romanoff's face suddenly darkened, thinking of something bad. This BCH was still thinking about her. She felt that it was necessary to go to the orphanage and beat Xiaozhou, but when she thought about going to the orphanage, she would definitely be punished by Xiaozhou entangled. Thinking of this, Natasha Romanoff suddenly flinched. Just a bare child, nothing major. Natasha Romanoff said with a stiff face. Nick Fury was a little inexplicable, but he didn't ask any further questions. On the other hand, a basement-like space, dimly lit, can be seen slightly. Sitting on the sofa in the basement is a young man with golden glasses who looks very gentle. If Xiaozhou is here, he must be here. It is possible to recognize who this man is, and a burly man is standing opposite the man with gold glasses. That is to say, Wickley, none of the men you sent came back? The mission failed. The young man with golden glasses said lightly, without a trace of emotional fluctuations. Yes, yes, they haven't come back. The man standing shuddered and said, "This is Wickley, the captain of the robbers." Wackley shuddered very much, because he knew how ruthless the man in front of him was, and he didn't know what terrible punishment would be ushered in for not completing the mission this time. No, according to the Department of Homeland and Logistics, they should have left by the river. The man with golden glasses muttered, while Wickley stood a little horrified. He heard something he shouldn't have heard. Information. By the way, this is a secret message that cannot be spread out. The man with golden wire glasses suddenly realized that the news of their Hydra infiltration into the Homeland Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Bureau could not be spread. Thinking of this, the man directly picked up a pistol, pointed directly at Wickley, and pulled the trigger expressionlessly. Bang! There was a dull gunshot from the basement, and Wickley's body slowly fell. A guy who is like a rice bucket, dares to come back even if the task is not completed. What is the difference between it and garbage? Forget it. The man with golden glasses said slowly. That parchment roll is still useful, it's a little troublesome to flow outside, let's get it back. It just so happens that your body has been transformed in stages, so it's up to you to go and investigate this matter clearly. Get the parchment back, I believe you will not disappoint me. The young man with golden glasses said to the empty basement, and behind the gate, a cold man stood here indifferently. Okay, but on the contrary, after this matter is over, I want to make further improvements. The cold man pondered, then said a sentence, and slowly walked out of the basement. The only surviving result of the Death Warrior experiment. This is an experiment that Hydra has invested a lot of money in. I hope you don't let me down. The young man with golden glasses turned his head, squinted his eyes slightly, and muttered as he stared at the distant figure of the ruthless man, and Xiaozhou didn't know that, although he successfully took himself out, his hand there is still something that makes Hydra valued, and they can't let that thing go out like this, and the danger is coming. Chapter 8. A few days after the bank robbery, the orphanage returned to peace again. After all, in the bank robbery this time, the orphanage was only the party involved, and there was nothing worth noting, so it was quickly ignored by everyone. In a small room of Merry Orphanage, a handsome little boy was sitting on a chair, holding an ancient parchment scroll in his hand and looking at it seriously. This is Xiaozhou, and the parchment scroll in his hand is exactly the same. The one darling from that team at Hydra. There must be some mystery about what Hydra does not hesitate to let his subordinates come to snatch, so Xiaozhou is also a little curious, so these 2 days are also analyzing the secrets in this parchment scroll. But it turned out that he couldn't understand what was recorded on this parchment scroll at all, and according to his memory, there was nothing in the Marvel world that he knew that overlapped with this parchment scroll. The parchment scroll is something beyond the plot. Forget it, don't think about it, there will always be a chance to know in the future. Unable to know the function of the sheepskin roll, Xiaozhou didn't pay much attention to it, and directly put the sheepskin roll away. The next moment, Xiaozhou's mind returned to his ability. Although Xiaozhou has been analyzing the secrets of the parchment scroll in the past 2 days, he spends more time on understanding the ultimate eye. After all, this is the foundation of his foothold in this world. How could he not? The ultimate eye has a clear understanding, and after these few days of understanding, Xiaozhou's understanding of the ultimate eye has become more profound. According to the feedback from the ultimate pupil, he can open a pupil ring every time he meets certain conditions, but the conditions are different each time. He opens the first pupil ring, the condition of the eye of geass is his own emotional changes, but if he wants to open the second pupil ring, the conditions he needs to achieve may change. It may be to harvest a certain number of lives, or possibly getting enough currency, or a lot of prestige, none of which are necessarily the same. It's a pity that the ultimate pupil will not communicate with him, and cannot communicate with him. This is Xiaozhou's evaluation of the ultimate pupil. The ultimate pupil is like a program, which can only be executed in a fixed manner. As long as the conditions are met, it will be turned on. It's that simple. This is Xiaozou's understanding of opening various pupil techniques, and the next thing is another thing, that is, the improvement of pupil techniques. The pupil technique is divided into strong and weak points. Based on the first pupil ring that has been opened, the Eye of Geass, the Eye of Geass he opened is only the most basic. At this time, the Eye of Geass can only order some ordinary people with weak wills. People, if it is a character like Professor X Charles, Xiaozou can't control it at all, and he may even be backlashed. This is also an inevitable thing. Professor X Charles has gone a long way in the field of spirituality. He is an extremely terrifying existence, and he cannot be influenced by the current Xiaozou at all, so he can only enhance the power of the Eye of Geass. His geass can do nothing wrong. As for the conditions for upgrading the level, this is the same as opening the pupil ring, such as the first pupil ring. The opening condition of the Eye of Geass is enough emotional changes, and as long as such emotional changes accumulate enough, he can continue to strengthen the Eye of Geass. The rest of the pupil surgery is the same. That is to say, what are the conditions for opening the rest of his pupil rings in the future, and what are the conditions for him to improve the pupil rings, this has not changed in the slightest. But now the only thing Xiaozou wants to do is to raise the Eye of Geass to the extreme. Imagine a picture, a look in the past, even the gods have to obey his orders, that's not too bad, and all this as long as he can get more mood changes. That is to say, I want to raise the Eye of Geass, then I can only collect more emotional changes. Natasha Romanoff, where are you? I miss you a little. Xiaozou sighed, it seems that he has to get closer to Natasha Romanoff, so that he can make the Eye of Geass stronger. This is the way for his Eye of Geass to become stronger. If Natasha Romanoff knew the thoughts in Xiaozou's heart at the moment, he would definitely stay far away from Xiaozou and never appear in front of Xiaozou, but in fact, Natasha Romanoff is now a little afraid to approach Xiaozou. I really don't want to take advantage of you, I just want to increase the power of the Eye of Geass. Xiaozou let out a sigh, but unfortunately I don't know the truth of this sigh. Tread. Just as Xiaozou sighed, a slight footstep sounded not far away. Xiaozou's complexion changed slightly, and he immediately hid in a corner, took out the pistol he took from the robber, and fired it quietly. At this time, it was late at night, and the people in the orphanage had already slept, so it is very likely that the person who appeared now was an outsider who came to the orphanage in the middle of the night. If it wasn't a thief, it was for a purpose. The only big thing that has happened here in the past few days is the bank robbery case in the past 2 days, and the people from S.H.I.E.L.D. and the police have checked it many times in the past 2 days. There is no need for them to appear here at this time. In addition, he still held the stolen parchment in his hand. Anyone from Hydra? A cold light flashed in Xiaozou's eyes, and he murmured in his heart. At this time, only Hydra people will appear here, but this is normal. When Hydra people find that their subordinates have not returned, they will definitely come to find the parchment, which Xiaozou has already expected. But Xiaozou was not afraid. Since the people from Hydra came, they must find the parchment scroll. If they want to get the parchment scroll back, they can only ask Xiaozou, and as long as they don't want to destroy it, immediately kill Xiaozou. Come to Xiaozou, their life and death are no longer in their control. Thinking of this, Xiaozou already had a plan in his mind, and a fluorescent red light appeared in his eyes, like the inverted V logo of an eagle spreading its wings looming, and suddenly came out of the corner generously, sat on the chair, and waited. The people of Hydra are here. The guests are here, why don't you come in? Xiaozou called roar in the direction of the door. At the same time, a gloved arm slowly pushed open the door, and a cold man walked in slowly. Chapter 9. John Garrett, a ruthless man in his 20s, he has an identity, that is S.H.I.E.L.D.'s agent, and his authority is not low, but he has a secret, that is his other identity, Hydra undercover. A few years ago, he was injured on a mission in S.H.I.E.L.D, but S.H.I.E.L.D never rescued him, so he was furious, determined to avenge S.H.I.E.L.D, and joined Hydra. In order to gain strength, he joined Hydra's Death Warrior transformation program and successfully survived. Now he has undergone earth-shaking changes. Although his body strength is not as strong as the legendary Captain of the United States, he has become stronger. But the transformation has not really been completed, so in order to make further transformation, he felt that he promised that person to retrieve a parchment. With the identity of the Homeland Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Bureau and Hydra, he has a great advantage in this investigation. After all, he can mobilize the intelligence of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra. Combining the intelligence of both sides, he quickly found a clue. He found that this time there was an extra character that shouldn't exist. An orphanage kid. Although he didn't know what the child had to do with this matter, he decided to go to the orphanage to check it out, and when he first arrived at the orphanage, he immediately heard Roar calling him in. It really is here, it seems that this task can be solved soon. John Garrett's eyes lit up, he opened the door and walked in slowly. As for whether he will encounter a sneak attack, he is now a transformed super soldier. Although he is far inferior to the Captain of the United States, he is not comparable to a child, so he did not worry at all and walked in directly. And when John Garrett just walked into the room, he immediately saw a pair of fluorescent red eyes, and in the middle of the eyes, an inverted V-shaped sign like the wings of an eagle shone. For a moment, John Garrett was stunned, and a red circle appeared in his eyes. The geass contract is established. It's done. There was a faint smile on the corner of Xiaozou's mouth, the eye of geass, although he only has this ability now, but if you use it well, this ability is invincible. For the people sent by Hydra, Xiaozou does not have the ability to confront them head-on. After all, his physical body is not strong, so he can only rely on geass ability to ensure his safety. Answer my question first, and after the inquiry is over, kill the person who asked you to come, until you die. Xiaozou said slowly. This was the order he gave John Garrett. Yes sir, please. John Garrett said dumbly, and bowed instantly, which is a standard military etiquette. Tell me about your origin and purpose first. Xiaozou asked, which was always his first question. My name is John Garrett. I am an agent of the Homeland Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency on the bright side, and a Hydra spy on the dark side. This time, I came to recover the parchment under the order of Whitehall. The cold man answered Xiaozou's question honestly. John Garrett, it's actually you? And Whitehall, it seems that a big fish has been caught, and that parchment is really not easy. Xiaozou's eyes lit up, and he suddenly thought of John Garrett's identity. If he remembered correctly, John Garrett is the villain Acute Eyes in the American TV series S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, the one who made centipede serum. The messenger behind the scenes. I didn't expect that the person sent by Hydra this time was actually him. But thinking about it carefully, the current Garrett is in his 20s, and he has only joined Hydra not long ago. His status in Hydra is not very high, so the possibility of coming out to perform this task is not low. As for Garrett's Whitehall, his identity is even less low, because he was one of the people who followed Red Skull back then. Head, it can be regarded as a big shot in Hydra, but I didn't expect this time to be implicated in him. However, if you change your mind, you can make what Whitehall wants to get. This parchment scroll is definitely not simple, and it may even be related to the Inhumans. Xiaozou has a plan in his mind, maybe he can get some benefits from it. In the next time, Xiaozou continued to ask John Garrett, and asked about the details of this incident, and even if John Garrett was dispatched this time to follow, how to know his existence, and even there are the secrets of parchment rolls, these Xiaozou have been inquired in detail, and John Garrett also answered Xiaozou's questions one by one. No way, this is the ability of the Eye of Geass, John Garrett can't resist Xiaozou's order at all. And after a series of inquiries, Xiaozou now knows everything about this matter. First of all, John Garrett knew about his existence. According to John Garrett's answer, this matter is because he combined the information of SHIELD and Hydra, so he is suspicious, but he is not sure. He came again to verify the guess in his heart, and he came alone. Investigation. This is also a normal thing, after all, John Garrett is a double agent, and he doesn't want S.H.I.E.L.D. to discover his true identity, so he came very secretly and was not discovered by anyone. This reassures Xiaozhou. After all, he doesn't want his existence to be exposed to Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D., which is not good for him. Not to mention SHIELD, Whitehall alone makes Xiaozhou terrified. Whitehall, this pervert, had to perform a live autopsy on Jiying, the mother of Vibe's daughter, for research. This is a big pervert. Xiaozhou is not hoped to be stared at by him, that would be disgusting. That said, now my existence is unknown to anyone but John Garrett, and John Garrett is under my control again, perfect. Xiaozhou chuckled, his worries were unnecessary, the only pity was that John Garrett didn't know the function of the parchment. Thinking of this, Xiaozhou's questioning of John Garrett was also over, and he could not help ordering John Garrett, go, complete your final mission. Yes, after the inquiry, kill the person who asked me to come, until I die. John Garrett muttered blankly, left the orphanage directly, and went straight to Hydra's base. As for whoever made him come, ahead of Hydra, Whitehall. Chapter 10. A hidden building. This is a base of Hydra, and inside the base, a man with golden glasses and a gentle-looking man is holding a book in his hand, watching silently, like a scholar. But only those who are familiar with him will know how terrifying this gentle-looking man is. This is Whitehall, a leader of Hydra, a devil who survived the war with blood on his hands. Ta-da-da. The footsteps approached slowly, and Whitehall turned to the book in his hand and looked towards the door. A faint smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. There was only one person who would come here at this time. He knew that John Garrett had returned, and as expected, a grim figure stepped into the door, and it was the figure of John Garrett. Welcome back, John Garrett, you brought me the present I wanted, didn't you? Whitehall had a faint smile on his face. He believed that Garrett should have brought him the parchment roll. After all, Garrett was originally an excellent agent, and he had been transformed. He was definitely not comparable to ordinary people. Unfortunately, his question didn't get any answer. Garrett stared at Whitehall blankly, slowly raising the pistol in his hand. Not good. Seeing such a scene, Whitehall's face changed greatly. He didn't know why Garrett was so abnormal, but he felt an extreme danger, and conditioned it to pounce behind the sofa. Bang! Sure enough, at the moment when Whitehall was dodging, the bullet popped out of the chamber, brushed past Whitehall's position just now, and hit the wall directly. Damn John Garrett, do you know what you're doing? You dare to shoot me, you're looking for death, I'm going to strip you alive, put down the gun in my hand immediately, don't mess with it angry at me, you can't bear the end. Whitehall scolded angrily, blue veins bursting out on his face, looking very ferocious. He really can't understand, where did John Garrett have the courage to shoot him, this is too abnormal, not to mention that John Garrett intends to let Hydra continue to transform him after this mission, there is absolutely no reason to attack he. What happened? Sir. The Hydra soldiers outside attracted by the sound of John Garrett's gunshots, and a dozen soldiers rushed in instantly. Take me John Garrett, he attacked me, he betrayed Hydra. Seeing the arrival of the Hydra soldiers, Whitehall immediately ordered the soldiers to capture John Garrett. Yes. Hydra's brainwashing education was very successful. In the face of a transformed super soldier like John Garrett, Hydra's soldiers rushed towards John Garrett without any hesitation. This is a battle of strength and quantity. When he was young, Acute Eyes were an excellent agent, and he had undergone the biological transformation of the Death Warrior plan. John Garrett's personal combat power was greatly improved, far stronger than every Hydra. Soldiers, but Hydra's soldiers can be piled up in numbers. Every time a soldier falls, a Hydra soldier rushes up and fights John Garrett desperately. The sound of gunfire was deafening, echoing in this unknown base. After a long time, John Garrett slowly fell. At this time, the base had been washed with blood, and the entire base was owned by Hydra soldiers. The corpse, covered with bullet casings, looked very tragic. Crazy, damn it, John Garrett is a lunatic. Whitehall entered the room and cursed John Garrett angrily. When the Hydra soldiers came in, he left the room under the cover of the soldiers, but he witnessed this inexplicable scene outside the room. Fighting. That's right, it's just inexplicable. He still doesn't understand why John Garrett suddenly started killing, and even fought with life and death until the last moment. A trace of fear flashed in Whitehall's eyes. John Garrett's appearance just now was too terrifying. A soldier stabbed the long knife in his hand into John Garrett's chest, but John Garrett still did not. The battle stopped, and even at the end, John Garrett's feet were blown up, and he fell to the ground, but he still crawled slowly, as if to stab the dagger in his hand into the enemy's heart. This is like a dead man who is not afraid of life and death, but Whitehall knows that Garrett is not a dead man at all, but a little fox, and such a thing is not something he will do at all. It's like being controlled by someone. What the hell is going on these days? Did John Garrett provoke those mutants? Whitehall frowned and had a headache, thinking about this matter, and even suspected mutant. As a head of Hydra, he still knew about mutant, who was a group of people with strange abilities. However, if mutant is really involved, then this matter becomes more troublesome. After all, it will become very troublesome when mutant is involved. Whitehall's brows are about to knot. He really can't understand what's going on here, but unfortunately John Garrett just now is like crazy. He only knows crazy battles, so he doesn't have any the way to get the truth of the matter from John Garrett's mouth can only be guessed by himself. Xiaozhou didn't know, his inadvertent order made the suspicious Whitehall into doubts, but one thing is certain, the current Whitehall is very afraid of Xiaozhou, an unknown enemy, and even dare not for a short time. To take revenge again, I just want to suppress this matter. What's more, even if he wanted revenge, he didn't even know who the enemy was. Chapter 11. Hydra Base. Looking at the bloody base, Whitehall's eyes were full of anger, although John Garrett had been killed, but the anger in his heart could not be extinguished. Sir, the loss results have been counted. Our soldiers lost 159 people, the buildings were damaged 60%, and the firearms and items were all used up. A soldier came to Whitehall and told Whitehall. Report the loss this time. Damn John Garrett, who has cost us so much, and the guy who manipulated John Garrett behind his back, don't let me find you, or I'll rip you alive. Whitehall said fiercely, his eyes full of resentment, although at the beginning, there was a flash of fear in his heart for the power to control John Gall, but what followed was anger. Who is he? He is a head of Hydra, leading a team of Hydra, but now he is threatened by such an inexplicable enemy, how could he not be angry? Sir, what should we do next? The soldier looked at Whitehall in fear, hoping to get an order from Whitehall. Take all the things that have been packed away. It is estimated that the Land and Logistics Support Bureau is coming soon. By the way, leave the clues about this matter. Whitehall squinted his eyes slightly, an array of light reflected from his gold wire glasses. With such a loud noise, it is estimated that SHIELD has been alerted and will come here soon, so they must evacuate immediately. As for deliberately leaving some clues, although he was very angry, the strange ability that manipulated John Garrett still made him very afraid, so he decided to let the people from S.H.I.E.L.D. investigate this matter for him. He hoped that he could use the hands of S.H.I.E.L.D. to search for a strange opponent, so that they could find out which mysterious person was without any effort. Yes. The soldier replied quickly and went to make arrangements immediately. After a while, the Hydra people quickly evacuated this ruined base, and not long after, an armed team arrived quickly and instantly surrounded the entire base. "Captain, according to our monitoring, there was a fierce shootout here not long ago, and there was even a bomb detonation. Search for me, don't miss a fly," the captain of the armed team ordered, and countless soldiers rushed into this ruined base in an instant to start a round of searching. Half a day later, a report has appeared on the desk of the Office of the Director of Homeland Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support. This base is actually Hydra's base. Damn, it's actually the group of mice hiding in the hole, and the body of Garrett agent was found at the scene? What happened here? The bald-headed Nick Fury had a solemn expression on his face, and his only eyes were fixed on the report. He felt that there must be some changes in it that he didn't know about, and Garrett's identity as an agent also added a layer of confusion. "Director, we found something important, some unburned videotape footage." Natasha Romanoff walked in quickly and showed Nick Fury the important evidence they found, but they didn't know that the so-called discovery was Whitehall. Left to them. "Quick, restore what's on the tape," Nick Fury said quickly. After some pretense, they finally restored the situation in the videotape, and they could see the clips of Garrett's agent talking with Hydra's people, the clips of the robbery discussion, and the clips of the final battle. "It's certain now that Garrett is a Hydra spy, and I didn't expect that we would sneak a Hydra spy here," Natasha Romanoff said with a frown. She didn't expect such a situation. "There are a lot of secrets here. It may be that the two sides can't negotiate, so there is a final battle, but I am more concerned about one thing, that is the robbery they mentioned. Now it seems that robbery case it's not easy." Nick Fury frowned and muttered. He felt more and more that there were some unknown secrets in it, but they were kept in the dark, unable to clear the fog, this kind of unclear feeling. Nick Fury was very disgusted, because this may threaten the security of the country. He wants to figure this out, and the only thing they can get close to now is the robbery a few days ago. "Natasha Romanoff, you should put down all the work you are doing now. You followed up the whole process of the robbery a few days ago. I always feel that it is not easy," Nick Fury said to Natasha Romanoff. He made a judgment and hoped that he could pay attention to the robbery, figure out that matter, and more importantly, he wanted to know what Hydra was doing. Natasha Romanoff nodded solemnly, didn't say much, and quickly backed out to prepare for this matter. The battle between S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra, and what they did, Xiaozhou doesn't know very well, and Xiaozhou at the moment doesn't have much time to pay attention to this one thing, because he has one more headache to solve. That is at the moment standing in front of him, a little girl of 2 or 3 years old who looks a little afraid of life. "Little Asta, you are the only one in your room. In the future, this little sister who just came to our big family will be taken care of by you. Remember, you must not bully the little sister, you know." Xiaozhou still remembers that Principal Mary just came to his room with a little girl who was tied with twin ponytails and looked glutinous, left the little girl behind after saying a word to him, and then left quickly. "Screen! What's the matter?" Xiaozhou couldn't help roaring. He just solved a big problem 2 days ago. He finally calmed down and studied his ability. As a result, Dean Mary brought a small oil bottle in front of him. Xiaozhou suddenly felt loveless. But there is no way to do this. There are not many rooms in the orphanage. In the past, because of his weakness, he could rest alone. Now that there is a child coming, he naturally shares a room with him. As for the difference between men and women, don't be funny, is there a difference between a 2 or 3-year-old girl and a 5 or 6-year-old boy in the eyes of adults? So Ms. Mary was very relieved. "Okay, what's your name?" Xiaozhou helplessly asked the little girl who was brought by Ms. Mary. "Sky, my name is Sky," said the little girl Nyanyo. Chapter 12. Sky. Hearing the little girl's name, Xiaozhou was a little stunned, because he was very familiar with this name. If it was changed to another name Roar, it is estimated that more people would understand, because this is the famous vibe girl Daisy in the future. John News. Definitely, the current vibe girl is still called Sky. This is the name she gave in the orphanage when she was a child. Could it be that Mary Orphanage was the orphanage where Sky was when she was a child? But it shouldn't be, there are some things that don't match. Xiaozhou frowned slightly, thinking about this matter. He remembered that Sky should have been placed in the orphanage shortly after birth, not when he was 2 or 3 years old. Little Sky, tell me, where did you live before? Xiaozhou asked Sky, wanting to learn something from her. I was in the Mary Joa orphanage before, but 2 days ago, the dean's mother said that the orphanage was bankrupt and could not continue to live, so I and other friends were sent to other orphanages. Sky was a little timid, did not dare to look Xiaozhou's eyes directly, but still answered Xiaozhou's question truthfully. Xiaozhou's heart flashed a little bit of clarity. Sky's previous orphanage was bankrupt, and there was no way to make a living, so he could only send the children of the orphanage to various orphanages, which explained why Sky appeared here. Are you going to drive me away? Sky said in fear that there were already some tears in her big eyes. Although she was still young, the children in the orphanage were always more mature, so she thought that Xiaozhou didn't like her and wanted to drive her away. Hey, I didn't mean to drive you away, just stay, but it's not very safe here, don't go outside at will, you know. Xiaozhou said a word slowly with a gloomy expression on his face. To be honest, he doesn't dislike Sky, and even he likes the vibe girl in the film and television works, but now he may still have some troubles. Xiaozhou knows in his heart that the previous robbery may not end like this, and it is likely to bring out some unpredictable results. The arrival of Garrett before has already shown that it is not very safe here. After all, Garrett can infer that he is related to this matter, and the rest of the people may also deduce it. If you investigate carefully, it will also bring some trouble, so he can't guarantee the safety here. Just looking at the pitiful appearance of little Sky, Xiaozhou couldn't bear it. He knew how pitiful the little girl in front of him was. After all, their family was torn apart because of Whitehall, and they lived alone in the orphanage since childhood. Waiting hard, this caused Xiaozhou some memories, and he couldn't help but soften his heart. Really, that's great, thank you brother. Hearing Xiaozhou's agreement, Sky suddenly burst into laughter and burst into a good-looking smile. Xiaozhou also smiled helplessly, but in this way, his ability research will be more secretive. In the next time, Xiaozhou took Sky to get acquainted with a circle of orphanages, which was also the task given to him by Dean Mary. Although Xiaozhou was only a 5 or 6-year-old child on the surface, he was originally close to an adult. So sometimes I can't help but be more mature, which is why Dean Mary is relieved to hand over little Sky to Xiaozhou. After the night, little Sky had already slept in the small bed next to her. After all, she had just moved in and was tired physically and mentally, and soon fell asleep, while Xiaozhou was still sitting in the chair, thinking about his future path. In the next period of time, how can I grow up safely? Should my future go in that direction? Xiaozhou looked at the moonlight outside the window, thinking about this matter. This world is very dangerous. He already knew this when he knew that this was the Marvel world, so he had to think about how to spend his childhood, and he was also the weakest stage. There are roughly 3 directions. One is SHIELDS.H.I.E.L.D. has professional agent training, which will undoubtedly allow me to grow. Xiaozhou murmured, he has an idea, that is to join SHIELD. If he can join SHIELD, then he can get professional training, whether it is fighting or other aspects of ability, and his identity is an orphan. This also meets SHIELD's selection criteria. However, there are many Hydra undercover agents in SHIELD. It is very likely that Hydra will discover his existence. If he is brainwashed, it will be troublesome, so the choice of S.H.I.E.L.D. was immediately ruled out by Xiaozhou. The second is to join Professor X's Xavier Ability Junior School, which is also a good choice. After all, there are Professor X and other powerful mutants, so you don't need to worry about their sudden danger. Xiaozhou said another way that he thought of. Although Xavier's school in the future has many disasters, but according to Xiaozhou's memory, during this time period, Xavier Ability School is relatively safe. If you can study there, then he can also grow rapidly. But the same, there are pros and cons. Xiaozhou also has some concerns in his heart. The first is his identity. His ability is obtained from the ultimate I, not a real mutant, so it is difficult to attract the attention of Professor X. What's more, Professor X's ability can spy on other people's minds, and Xiaozhou is also worried that his memory will be spied on by Professor X. The third is to find Camartage and let the Ancient One magician teach magic. Xiaozhou said the third plan, that is to become a magician. Undoubtedly, among the three schemes, Xiaozhou most agrees with the third one. After all, Camartage's magic is very special, especially the one that can be teleported at will, which makes Xiaozhou jealous, but I don't know if I have magic ability. Xiaozhou looked serious, thinking about this matter. Each idea has its own advantages and disadvantages, so Xiaozhou had some hesitation for a while, considering the function of each idea. Forget it, there is no need to make a decision in a short period of time. Let's look at the current situation first. Xiaozhou sighed and put this matter aside for the time being. After all, the most important thing for him now is to study his ability first and make himself stronger. On the other hand, because of the previous robbery, there are still a lot of eyes on this area, and even Shield's eyes have not completely withdrawn, so Xiaozhou feels quiet for a while and waits for this wind. Wave of the Past. Chapter 13. Homeland Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency. At the moment S.H.I.E.L.D has not had the aircraft carrier in the future, and the base is still a building. A figure with a good figure quickly moved towards the deepest part of the base. This was Natasha Romanoff, whom he had not seen for a long time, and Natasha Romanoff went to Nick Fury's director's office at the moment. Natasha Romanoff frowned slightly because Nick Fury told her to come just now, but she could hear that Nick Fury's tone seemed a little dignified, and it was very likely that something had happened. Natasha Romanoff, some clues have been found in that robbery. Natasha Romanoff has just stepped into the director's office. Nick Fury immediately said to Natasha Romanoff. What did you find? Natasha Romanoff was surprised and immediately asked Chief Nick Fury. She thought she had found something, but it turned out to be the clue to the robbery. The group of robbers from Hydra threw themselves into the river, you know that, but today, our people have found the bodies of the group of robbers. Guess what we found? Nick Fury spoke slowly, explaining why he had called Natasha Romanoff. He had found the bodies of the robbers, and he had also discovered something incredible. Natasha Romanoff said nothing and looked at Nick Fury. She didn't have the heart to guess, she wanted the final answer. Okay, no time wasting, we found out that 2 of those people were shot to death, not drowning. Nick Fury tapped on the table and told this amazing secret. Natasha Romanoff's face changed slightly, and he immediately understood what it meant. Before they threw themselves into the river, they were already dead, and they were still shot to death, which means that there were some unknown incidents in the journey before they threw themselves into the river, and this incident is very likely to be this robbery. The mystery of the case. For a time, Natasha Romanoff suddenly remembered something. When she was about to run to the orphanage in the bank, she heard 2 gunshots. At that time, she thought it was an accident, but now it seems that the 2 gunshots were not accidents at all, but the source of the change. As for the origin of the gunshots, there is only one, and that is the orphanage, and there was only one person in the courtyard of the orphanage. A bare child with 2 color pupils. Natasha Romanoff's face changed greatly, and even his body couldn't help but take a step back. His expression was extremely shocked. Could it be that child is the cause of this change? Although Xiaozhou has some bad memories for Natasha Romanoff, Natasha Romanoff has a hard time imagining that a child can be a man behind the scenes. It's so outrageous, it's just absurd. What did you think of? Natasha Romanoff. Nick Fury asked anxiously that he summoned Natasha Romanoff to solve this mystery, because Natasha Romanoff was at the scene at the time, experienced this incident personally, and told Natasha Romanoff the clues. Natasha Romanoff may be able to find the truth, and now looking at Natasha Romanoff's changed look, Nick Fury thinks he may have guessed right. It is really possible for Natasha Romanoff to guess the truth. Thinking of this, Nick Fury was very excited. A lot of weird things have happened during this period of time. Hydra robbed the bank inexplicably, the Hydra base was inexplicably exposed, and there was also a tragic shootout, and the target of the shootout was one of them. Agent, but in the end it was discovered that this agent was a Hydra spy. All kinds of things that happened during this period made Nick Fury very nervous, because they were out of their control, and they didn't even know many things until they appeared, which made Nick Fury very unhappy. They were originally monitoring all kinds of dangers exist, but now they have been kept in the dark, and he desperately wants to know the truth. Director, I guessed some things, but these things are too shocking, I can't believe it. Natasha Romanoff took a deep roar breath and said to Nick Fury, she hadn't quite recovered from the shock. Speak. Nick Fury urged Natasha Romanoff. If I'm not mistaken, this so-called accident is most likely the child with two color pupils in the orphanage. Natasha Romanoff said slowly, saying this shocking thing. A kid? This, what the hell is going on? Nick Fury was also a little dumbfounded, he didn't expect Natasha Romanoff to give him such an answer. This is how it goes. Natasha Romanoff slowly said what she knew, even her guesses. Is there such a thing? When Natasha Romanoff finished speaking, Nick Fury was also a little dumbfounded. He expected several answers, but he did not expect this result. The accident of this incident was actually a child, but combined with the whole case, Natasha Romanoff also of memories, all of which point the finger at Xiaozhou. Director, what should we do? Natasha Romanoff asked Nick Fury, distraught. Whether it's true or not, Natasha Romanoff, you send a team to surround the orphanage first, bring the child back, remember, don't hurt the child. Nick Fury made a decision to have Natasha Romanoff bring Xiaozhou back to base, so that, whether true or not, control Xiaozhou before saying anything else. I see. Natasha Romanoff was distraught, but out of the quality of an agent, Natasha Romanoff chose to follow orders. Soon, Natasha Romanoff left the Homeland Strategic Defense Assault and Logistics Support Bureau with an armed team and headed towards the orphanage. On the other hand, at the time of Nick Fury's decision, a hidden base, a man with gold-rimmed glasses listening with a covered communicator, was Whitehall, one of Hydra's chiefs, and he was listening to the news from the undercover agent in S.H.I.E.L.D. As expected of our Hydra's old rival, I knew you could give me a satisfactory result, a child from an orphanage. Interesting, I didn't expect such a person to exist, very good, I swear to eat you alive. There was a trace of resentment in Whitehall's eyes. He had sworn that he would swallow up the mysterious person who made him so embarrassed last time. Although he did not expect to be a child, none of this could reduce his anger. Everyone go to the orphanage for me, bring the child back to me, and destroy the orphanage for me. Whitehall ordered. For a time, all eyes of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra are on the orphanage, a catastrophe is coming. Chapter 14. In the courtyard of the orphanage, a little girl picked the flowers and weaved them into a wreath. This was Sky, who came to Mary's orphanage not long ago. When the wreath was woven, Sky happily took the wreath, and quickly ran to Xiaozhou with her little feet, holding the wreath in front of Xiaozhou. Brother Xiaozhou, this wreath is for you. Under the garland, Sky's hopeful gaze fell on Xiaozhou's face through the garland, hoping that Xiaozhou could accept this garland. Then I'll take it, thank you little Sky. Xiaozhou chuckled lightly and took the wreath. Sky's face burst into a beautiful smile, and once again happily ran to the flowers. In the past few days, Sky also became familiar with the orphanage. As for the relationship between Sky and Xiaozhou becoming so close, it has to start from one thing. The orphans in the orphanage are a group of very sensitive people, because they have no parental care, and it is easy to have a rebellious mentality in such a group, especially some older children often bully others' children, especially those who have just arrived at the orphanage. Sky, who just arrived, is such a character. Not long after Sky came, several older orphans planned to bully Sky. Xiaozhou had promised Dean Mary to take care of Sky, so when she saw Sky when Sky was bullied by the orphans, Xiaozhou chose to help little Sky. In fact, Xiaozhou has also encountered such a thing, but how could he be played by a few brats? So Xiaozhou taught them a lesson, but they did not repent and bullied Sky, so Xiaozhou go and teach them a lesson. This can be regarded as Xiaozhou doing it casually, but in Sky's eyes, this move represents more than just helping. Without the company of her parents, the life of an orphan makes Sky very lonely, and there is even an invisible wall in her heart, which isolates Sky from the outside world, but now Xiaozhou is so willing to stand up for her, which makes Sky in her heart very moved, and even made Sky's closed heart have a strange feeling. This feeling is called warmth. It is also for this reason that Sky became close to Xiaozhou, even a little sticky to Xiaozhou, and Xiaozhou saw this change, but he didn't say much, just smiled slightly. After all, having one more sister is also good thing. Watching Sky run towards the flowers again, Xiaozhou chuckled and didn't say anything, but thought about something outside. In the past few days, Xiaozhou has thought about what Shield and Hydra will do next, thinking about his next path, but more often, what Xiaozhou is doing is still trying to improve his ability. Power is still the theme song of the world. Only with enough power can you have the right to speak. Xiaozhou understands this very well, so he has been improving his power and ability, and his first pupil ring, the improvement of the Eye of Geass. There is only one way, and that is to accumulate enough emotional changes. This Xiaozhou has been verified by Natasha Romanoff, but Natasha Romanoff at the moment is impossible to appear in the orphanage, so Xiaozhou can't get emotional changes from Natasha Romanoff, but he is not the only one, there are other things he can do to get mood changes. Imagining the arrival of various crises, as well as some other things, can prompt Xiaozhou to have emotional changes, and even watching some adult action blockbusters has this effect. Definitely, Xiaozhou was in a happy mood when he found out that the action blockbuster also had the same effect, and he started the car without hesitation. I'm not trying to learn technology, but to improve my strength. With this mentality, Xiaozhou watched the blockbuster excitedly, and under such circumstances, Xiaozhou's emotional changes were constantly accumulating, and just now, he felt that the accumulated emotions seemed to reach a critical point. Emotional changes have been saturated, and the level of the first pupil ring can be increased. Is it improved? Suddenly, a message came out of the ultimate pupil. Xiaozhou's eyes lit up, and he nodded quickly in his heart. Promote. In an instant, a warm energy flowed out from the totem of the ultimate pupil and converged on Xiaozhou's eyes. The next moment, Xiaozhou's pupils automatically changed into the eyes of geese, and the inverted V logo of the eagle's wings appeared instantly, bursting out with a ray of light. There is such a surprise. A look of ecstasy suddenly appeared on Xiaozhou's face, because after the first pupil ring, Eye of Geass sublimated, Xiaozhou found that there was another surprise, and that was the second ability of Eye of Geass. Predict the short future. Predicting the future, this is the second ability of the Eye of Geass. Originally, Xiaozhou thought that the Eye of Geass only had one ability to absolutely command, but he didn't expect that there was a second ability, and it was the ability to predict the future. But this is also a normal thing. The Eye of Geass is not only owned by Lu Luxiu, but also others, and the ability of Xiaozhou's first pupil ring is the Eye of Geass, which includes all the geese ability. As long as Xiaozhou can, it is developed, and there may be other geese abilities in the future, which is definitely a good thing for Xiaozhou. Xiaozhou searched the memory related to the Eye of Geass in his mind, and immediately knew the origin of the second ability. This is Bismarck's geass, foreseeing the short future. As the strongest knight of the Round Table, Bismarck was already the strongest warrior in the empire and even the world when he obtained geass. Out of loyalty to the emperor, in order to make himself the strongest sword of the emperor, in order to ensure that the emperor's will is defeated. Absolute execution, Bismarck asked himself to defeat all opponents, and under the premise of originally unparalleled force, he obtained the ability to predict the short-term future, which is the origin of this power of geass. But his geass power seems to be slightly different from Bismarck's ability. Bismarck's ability can predict the opponent's future movements within 5 seconds, but his ability can see a certain segment within an hour in the future. Although there is a slight gap, it makes no difference to Xiaozhou. Try the ability to predict the short-term future, Sky, come here. Thinking about it since then, Xiaozhou couldn't wait to try the special ability he just obtained. Roar couldn't help calling Sky over. There was no way. Although this can see the future in an hour, the essence of the Eye of Geass is to act on people. There are no exceptions to this, so Xiaozhou wants to see what Sky looks like an hour later. Come on, brother Xiaozhou. Hearing Xiaozhou's roar call, Sky ran over with joy, and didn't even realize that his little feet were dirty. Sky, look into my eyes. Xiaozhou said to Sky. Sky couldn't help but sit and look at Xiaozhou's two-color pupils. The next moment, Xiaozhou immediately activated ability. The second ability of geass, predict the short-term future, activate it. For a moment, Xiaozhou was stunned, his face changed greatly, because he saw a clip on Sky's body an hour later. Endless blood stained the floor of the orphanage, countless corpses piled up on the ground of the orphanage, blood flowed into rivers, and turned into endless panic. Chapter 15. Endless blood dyed the ground of the orphanage blood red. Damn it, how could this happen? Xiaozhou stood up instantly, his expression extremely cold, he did not expect to see such a situation. Could it be that something happened to Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D? Xiaozhou calmed down a little, thought about the reason for this matter, and guessed the truth of the matter at once, but now is not the time to care about the truth, what he needs to do is to solve this matter. To be honest, after 2 lifetimes, Xiaozhou takes some things lightly, but he has too warmth in his heart that he doesn't want to be destroyed. One is Dean Mary, who has maternal care. He is a good person who treats himself. Selfless love was given to Xiaozhou, and the other was Sky. After getting along for the past few days, Xiaozhou gradually accepted Sky's existence, hoping that this lovely sister could grow up. But now that he foresees such a scene, how could Xiaozhou be willing to see them meet such danger? Brother Xiaozhou, did I do something wrong? Seeing the sudden change in Xiaozhou's face, little Sky was startled, thinking that Xiaozhou hated her, her eyes suddenly turned red, and tears were about to flow. It's all right, Sky, go and call everyone to the hall. You said that Dean Mary asked them to go, remember? Xiaozhou comforted Sky, and then asked Sky to call everyone to the hall. He couldn't change anything. The only thing he could do was to ask Dean Mary and Sky to leave the orphanage quickly. As for the group of orphans, they are incidental. I see, I will do what Brother Xiaozhou explained. Sky clenched his small fists and ran to do it immediately. Next is Dean Mary. Xiaozhou turned around immediately and went to Dean Mary. Xiaozhou is very familiar with Dean Mary. At this time, Dean Mary should be busy in the kitchen, so Xiaozhou came directly to the kitchen and saw Dean Mary, who was busy at once. Little Asta, what are you doing in the kitchen? Are you hungry? Dean Mary looked at Xiaozhou in surprise, thinking that Xiaozhou was hungry. After all, Xiaozhou rarely stepped into the kitchen. President Mary, I have an urgent matter to tell you. In an hour, there will be a catastrophe here. You should leave quickly with the rest of the children. Xiaozhou didn't have time to explain too much, so he could only briefly talk about the situation and ask Dean Mary to leave. Little Asta, what's the matter with you? Do you have a fever? How can you say something stupid? Dean Mary looked at Xiaozhou with a strange look, and probed Xiaozhou's forehead to see why Xiaozhou suddenly talking nonsense. Forget it, there's no time. Xiaozhou reluctantly said a word, and the two-color pupil shone instantly at this moment, emitting a fluorescent red light, and the inverted V logo appeared instantly like an eagle spreading its wings. President Mary, please go to the lobby now, and take everyone from the orphanage out of here immediately, and go to the park half a kilometer away. You are not allowed to come back within 2 hours, and there must be no delay. Geass ability, absolute command activate. Xiaozhou didn't have time to explain the situation here to Dean Mary, so he could only directly use the first ability of geass to let Dean Mary take the others out of here quickly. Okay, I'll do it. A red halo appeared in Dean Mary's eyes, and replied Xiaozhou blankly, then put down the kitchen utensils in his hand, quickly left here, and went to the hall. Everyone come with me. In the hall, Dean Mary called to everyone roar, and followed Xiaozhou's order to go to the park half a kilometer away. With Dean Mary appearing, this matter went very smoothly. Although many children did not understand why they did this, everyone followed Dean Mary to leave the orphanage and leave for the park half a kilometer away, but there is also a person who does not want to obey. Brother Xiaozhou, did something happen? Sky wants to help you. Sky stood in front of Xiaozhou and looked at Xiaozhou with ruddy eyes. The life of an orphan made Sky very sensitive. Coupled with the changes in Xiaozhou just now, Sky suddenly felt something terrible. Something was coming, so she didn't want to leave Xiaozhou, hoping to be of some help. Sky, be obedient, follow Dean Mary, and I'll find you after I settle some matters. Xiaozhou looked at Sky gently and said. No, I'm not leaving. Sky looked at Xiaozhou stubbornly, her tears couldn't hold back. She had a hard time finding a close person, she really didn't want to leave, and she still had a feeling. If she leaves now, she will most likely not see brother Xiaozhou. Hey, there's no way. Xiaozhou sighed, and the different pupils of left purple and right gold instantly turned into a shining inverted V sign. Go with Dean Mary, and don't come back for 2 hours. At this moment, Sky's tearful eyes had an additional red halo, and then hurriedly left with Dean Mary, but when he left, Sky's eyes were still silently filled with tears. Soon, the orphanage became empty all of a sudden. Xiaozhou looked at the people who were far away, and didn't come back until he couldn't see their figures. Okay, the next step is the preparation stage, and the war is about to begin. Xiaozhou's expression became cold again. Since they wanted to start a war, then he would give them a real war, teach them a painful lesson, and let them know that not everyone is qualified to start a war against him. Xiaozhou quickly returned to the yard and took out the mirrors in each room and placed them in various positions of the orphanage. This was arranging the most suitable battlefield for him. Xiaozhou knows in his heart that he does not have the ability to face firearms head-on, so he can only outsmart this battle, and the only effective ability he has now is his geass ability, which is his only whole card, but his geass ability works by looking at each other, so he will prepare these mirrors. However, he can't guarantee that the enemy will not shoot the first time after seeing him, so he has to activate ability under the premise of ensuring his own safety. He will not joke about his life, and at this time, the role of the mirror will appear. After being refracted by the mirror, his ability still has an effect. This is a real killer. The orphanage attaches great importance to appearance, and there are many mirrors in each small room, so Xiaozhou should not be concerned about the lack of mirrors. Soon the orphanage is full of small mirrors, even in an inadvertent corner. A mirror exists. The battlefield layout is complete. Chapter 16. The empty orphanage was silent, without the previous noise. In the hall, Xiaozhou was holding a loaded pistol in his hand. He was not afraid of danger and sat calmly on a bench. He was waiting for the arrival of the enemy. Chap. After a long time, a rush of brakes continued to sound around the orphanage. 10 special transport vehicles stopped, and a fully armed team walked out of each carriage, and then the soldiers surrounded the entire orphanage. But none of them rushed into the orphanage immediately, they were waiting for orders from above. 10 vehicles and more than 20 soldiers in one vehicle, which means there are more than 200 enemies in total. Standing behind the window, Xiaozhou stared indifferently at the situation outside the orphanage. He was calculating the enemy's situation, and just as Xiaozhou was calculating the enemy, the armed team led a black hand who looked like an officer. The communicator rang suddenly. "Sir, all the soldiers are in place," the black officer said to the communicator. "I only want the boy with 2 color pupils, and the rest are up to you." Whitehall's cold voice came from the communicator. "The people from Hydra are here one step ahead of S.H.I.E.L.D. Although when Whitehall received the information, Natasha Romanoff was ready to set off with the team, but he also had his own way to let the spies in S.H.I.E.L.D. exert a little force and delay the team of S.H.I.E.L.D. for some time. Hall is not difficult at all, so they can come to the orphanage before the S.H.I.E.L.D. people. But Whitehall did not come, or rather, Whitehall did not come to the orphanage. Although Whitehall was very resentful to Xiaozhou, John Garrett was fighting frantically at that time, and his demented appearance still left some shadows on Whitehall. Whitehall is very afraid of that kind of power that controls people's hearts. After all, there is a similar brainwashing method in Hydra, so it is impossible for him to come to the first front in person, but choose to be in a building near the orphanage. Watch it all. In fact, such a large-scale deployment of Hydra's power has rarely occurred since the end of the last World War. After all, this is an era of peace, and Hydra is an evil force, so the United States will not allow such blatant actions as Hydra, so under normal circumstances, Hydra is dormant, silently accumulating strength, silently waiting for the opportunity to rise. Only this time, Whitehall was really irritated, and for the first time since his youthful rejuvenation, he felt that death was so close to him, which was a serious insult to a self-proclaimed wise man. So he must pay the price of Xiaozhou, even if exposed to sacrifice a squad. What's more, he doesn't pay attention to these low-level personnel of Hydra at all. If he dies, he will die. It's no big deal. At most, he will recruit some new forces in the future. As for the consequences of this action, he felt that as long as he abandoned some pawns, he should be able to solve this matter, so Whitehall had no scruples. In fact, this is the essence of Whitehall, or Whitehall was originally such a person, safeguarding his interests at any cost. Everyone, act. After receiving Whitehall's order, the black officer waved his hand, and all the soldiers rushed into the orphanage in an instant. Start, let the ground of the orphanage be stained with blood. Inside the orphanage, Xiaozhou, who was paying attention to the situation outside, knew the moment the soldiers moved. He pressed a button with the palm of his hand, and a neon light on the plaque of the orphanage instantly lit up. Yes, it's just a neon light, not a hidden weapon, but there is a slight difference. There is a mirror hanging on this neon light, but this mirror plays a huge role. Human thinking will have an inertia, that is, it will involuntarily look in the direction of sudden changes. When there is a neon light emitting light, everyone will involuntarily look in the direction of the neon light. And at the moment is like this. At this moment, all the soldiers are conditioned to look in the direction of the light, and when they look at the neon light, the mirror tied under the neon light reflects a pair of fluorescent red lights. Eyes. In the eyes, the inverted V logo of an eagle spreading its wings instantly lights up. All the soldiers who ran in from the direction of the gate were immediately stunned, standing still. No one noticed that there was a red concern in the eyes of these soldiers. Geass' first ability, Absolute Command Activation. The contract is established. Only a quarter of the soldiers? But enough. Xiaozhou murmured, this time when the geass ability was activated, he only controlled the soldiers who rushed in from the direction of the gate. After all, the light travels in a straight line, and the mirror can only shine in one direction, but this is enough, because this part of the soldiers accounted for about a quarter of all soldiers. This time, in order to prevent Xiaozhou from escaping, Whitehall asked all the soldiers to surround the entire orphanage, rushing in from all directions of the orphanage, some from the back door, and even some soldiers from the left and right across the wall. All Xiaozhou can't control all at once, but this is enough for Xiaozhou. Except me, kill all the soldiers in the orphanage until death. The geass logo in their eyes flashed instantly, and all the soldiers who rushed in from the front door moved instantly, raising their guns high, aiming at their companions, and pulling the trigger expressionlessly. Blah blah blah. A burst of firearms sounded instantly, and without any warning, the companions who crossed the yard and were about to rush into the building were shot and killed. At this moment, screams continued to sound, but the soldiers who rushed in from the main gate did not show any expressions, because at this time, the only thought in their minds was only one. Carry out Xiaozhou's orders and kill the rest of the soldiers. The blood of the killed soldiers flowed out, slowly dyeing the ground of the orphanage red. Chapter 17. This sudden change made the rest of the surviving soldiers horrified, because they simply could not understand why their companions who were born and died suddenly attacked them at this time. Specially explained, after all, in his eyes, this group of soldiers are worthless. Fake. Bruce, what are you doing? The black officer scolded angrily, scolding a soldier who was controlled by Xiaozhou, but unfortunately the soldier did not respond to the curse of the black officer, and was still hunting those soldiers who rushed into the orphanage. Aren't we a group? We killed the wrong person. Ah, brother, why did you kill me? What the hell is going on here? I was shot, help. The courtyard of the orphanage was suddenly in a state of chaos, and all the soldiers were in chaos. At this moment, the communicator in the black officer's hand rang, and Whitehall Rage's voice came out from the communicator instantly. Are you an idiot? Those soldiers are under control. Get rid of those under control and continue to attack. In a building in the distance, Whitehall yelled at the communicator in exasperation. He was observing the situation of the orphanage all the time. Because of John Garrett's previous experience of making a riot at the Hydra base, Whitehall immediately reacted and understood the clues, which was controlled by Xiaozhou. But the more he understood the clue, the more solemn Whitehall's expression became. Even though the soldiers hadn't seen Xiaozhou yet, they had all been recruited and became puppets in Xiaozhou's hands. This bizarre method made Whitehall feel a chill in his heart, even a little creepy. It is also because of this that Whitehall is more afraid of Xiaozhou, but also becomes more greedy. If he can take Xiaozhou and obtain this method of Xiaozhou, then can he dominate the world? Thinking of this, Whitehall urged the black officer to speed up, and the black officer ordered by Whitehall asked the surviving sober soldiers to attack the soldiers controlled by Xiaozhou. For a time, the sober Hydra soldiers launched a counterattack. About a quarter of the Hydra soldiers originally controlled by Xiaozhou, and because of their sudden attack, the soldiers who attacked from the left and right sides were all hit by them, and only the soldiers who attacked from the back door escaped. That is to say, it is the soldiers who are attacking from the gate controlled by Xiaozhou, and the other team is attacking from the back door. The two sides start a tug-of-war in an instant, but there are still a few soldiers who rushed into the orphanage. Inside the building, I intend to take Xiaozhou. Hey, I'm here. In the hall of the orphanage, a soldier was searching. Xiaozhou's tender voice suddenly appeared, the soldier's face changed greatly, he turned back instantly, and pulled the trigger in his hand. He was already terrified by Xiaozhou's ability, and he didn't dare to slack off. He just wanted to knock Xiaozhou down as soon as possible, even if the black officer asked them to capture Xiaozhou alive. Bang! The bullet was fired, but it was the sound of glass breaking. The soldier looked curiously and saw a broken mirror all at once. It turned out that what he hit was just a mirror, but at the next moment, a pair of bright red eyes were reflected on the broken mirror, and the inverted V geass logo shone brightly. Geass' first ability, Absolute Command Activation. The contract is established. Answer my question, go out and kill the invading soldiers after the inquiry is over until they die. Xiaozou's figure slowly came to the soldier, followed by a cold voice. Until death. This is the order that Xiaozou must give every time the geass ability is activated. Whether it is when Garrett attacked before, or when he orders these soldiers now, Xiaozou will definitely give this order. No way, his current strength is still too weak, there is no way to protect his own safety, so he must ensure that these controlled people can never hurt him again. Xiaozou has a wish. He hopes that one day, he can develop other abilities of the ultimate pupil to make himself stronger and no longer so passive. He hopes that one day he can stand on the enemy without fear. Face, without the need to say the words until death. But in the blink of an eye, Xiaozou pulled his mind back to reality, and he still had some things to understand. Tell me about your identity, which force are you from? After finding a hidden place to hide, Xiaozou began to question the soldiers who were under control. I am a soldier under the commander of Hydra Solo, number JTS 142. The soldier answered truthfully. Hydra, it really is Hydra. Xiaozou's eyes narrowed slightly, and there was no accident at all. This is more common sense. After all, in Xiaozou's memory, although shield can kill people, at least they will talk nonsense directly before starting to show their tolerance. Only Hydra can. It would be so cruel, without saying a word, he would just start killing. Who is Chief Solo in your mouth? Xiaozou asked. The black man in command next to the first car outside the orphanage is Chief Solo. The soldier answered truthfully. Xiaozou took a peek through the window, and immediately saw the black man named Solo. Xiaozou's eyes turned slightly, and he had a plan in his heart. Go, the inquiry is over. Xiaozou said to the soldier without looking back. Yes, perform the mission, kill the invading soldiers until death. The soldier talked to himself, then picked up the pistol, rushed out quickly, and began to join the battle in the yard. The order given by Xiaozou would not work until the moment he died, but at that time, he was already dead. And this scene, Xiaozou didn't even look at it, but through the window, silently watching Solo, the black officer behind the orphanage. Xiaozou decided, this is his next hunting target. Chapter 18. On New York Avenue, several cars passed by quickly, and the people in the cars were also an entire row of armed teams. This was the person from the Bureau of Homeland Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support, who was long overdue. Dressed up, Natasha Romanoff looks valiant, and Natasha Romanoff has a bald egg beside him. This is Nick Fury, Director of the Homeland Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Bureau. He originally handed this matter to Natasha Romanoff, but just as they were about to dispatch, the people above suddenly came to conduct so-called routine inspections of the people from the Homeland Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Bureau, so they would something was held up, and after it was over, Nick Fury also changed his mind and came along with Natasha Romanoff. Natasha Romanoff, I have a hunch that something might happen, we need to hurry. Nick Fury frowned and said to Natasha Romanoff, he had a hunch that they were definitely not dragged by accident, and there was a possibility that something would happen. Director, something happened. According to our line of sight, an armed team appeared in the orphanage and attacked the orphanage. At this time, an intelligence agent began to report the news to Nick Fury. Bang! The blue veins on Nick Fury's head burst out, and his fist slammed the window so hard that there was a crack in the window. Damn it, my hunch was correct, and something happened, give me full speed ahead and get to the orphanage as soon as possible. Nick Fury roared angrily, he knew his hunch was correct, and something happened. It seems that the top is not clean. Natasha Romanoff said slowly, squinting her eyes slightly, if she pointed at something, she was also very annoyed by being teased like this, but she was more regretful that she couldn't get to the orphanage at the first time. She still couldn't believe the two-color pupil the bear child will be the mastermind behind the scenes, and she has to verify it herself. After this incident is over, I'm not finished with them. Nick Fury said in a low voice, he already had some targets, Some Hydra infiltrated the above targets. After all, the person who came to check this time was already obvious. Quickly get to the orphanage for me, quick. Nick Fury growled at the driver, and the S.H.I.E.L.D guys picked up speed and headed for the orphanage. On the other hand, the situation in the orphanage at the moment was very tragic. There were constant gunshots coming from the orphanage, accompanied by bursts of screams. Every moment, a soldier from Hydra fell, or a soldier who was still awake. Or the soldiers who were controlled by Xiaozhou. As the battle progressed, a large number of soldiers fell continuously,